I was a forensic chemist and a toxicologist for both the county morgue and for the Drug Enforcement Administration. So I laugh and tell people that I went from playing with dead people to playing with white powders.
We've been around since 2010, and our whole mission is to change the face of who can access and excel in STEM.
Hey friends, welcome back to another edition of Two Lit Chicks. I am here with my girl, Alicia. Alicia, how you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm also here with two of our guests. This is really two lit chicks that are our guests today. And we would like to welcome Saki as well as Jennifer. And I will allow you ladies to introduce yourself. Fern, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, so we're so happy to have you ladies on the podcast today. We actually had tapped these two gems and rock stars amongst us to be on our podcast last season. But you know how it is, sisters we would be busy. We couldn't get our schedules to work. And I was relentless. Like, I'm not giving up. Jennifer, we need to see you. Saki, we need to see you. We need to break bread in the conversation. And so thank you for availing yourself in our season 3 to be a part of this conversation. I think it's important for our audience to see 4 powerhouse women on this call right here, come from all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, in this thing called STEM, right? So I just first and foremost just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here and blessing us with what I know is going to be a great conversation. So go ahead and introduce yourselves. We'll start with you, Saki.
Yay. Thank you, ladies, for having us here. So excited. I follow the podcast, and I follow your careers, obviously, for many years. So it's definitely a pleasure. I'm Saki Melton, everybody, and I am the founder and executive director of the GEMS Camp, Girls Interested in Engineering, Mathematics, and Science. We're a 501c3 based here in South Texas, where we empower underrepresented girls, mostly Black and Latina girls from underserved communities in STEM, and helping them to find their career pathways. We have 4 programs. We have our summer camp, which is really our flagship that everyone knows us from, that are residential summer camps held at universities like TCU and SMU. But then we also have an after-school program right at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center in the heart of South Dallas in the Fair Park neighborhood. We've been around since 2010, and our whole mission is to change the face of who can access and excel in STEM. And that's a mission that, is very important to me. Obviously, I'm a STEM girl. My background is in education, math teacher, working in education publishing on the math side, professional development. And I am almost done with my PhD. I'm a candidate I should be defending in January. So very excited about that. And my focus is obviously STEM education, what's new, but looking at how girls learn math and acquire math skills in their communities and looking at math all around them. So that being said, I'm going to toss it over to the real doctor, one of my sheroes, STEM sheroes, Dr. Jennifer Simpson.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Saki. You out there doing the grit work. Let's remember that, because when you are doing the work, that is where the blessings come. You may not see it, but they're out there. Good afternoon, good day, good time, wherever y'all are listening to this. I am Jennifer Simpson, and I love that Saki introduced me as doctor. Sometimes I got to remember to say that. So allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Dr. Jennifer Simpson. I'm a Dallas native, and I call myself an educator, an innovator, and a scientist, because I am in all 3 of those worlds. Actually, my career started off as a scientist. I was a forensic chemist and a toxicologist for both the county morgue and for the Drug Enforcement Administration. So I laugh and tell people that I went from playing with dead people to playing with white powders. And then I decided that career had a different calling, because for me, I was the only one in the room, one who looked like me, and I decided that I needed to do something, because I would volunteer at a school and the kids had no idea what a scientist was. They had no science programming. So here I was, a professional scientist with a real professional science career, and I'm talking to kids that have no idea what science is. So I decided to walk away from that career and become a teacher. And so I was a chemistry teacher for 12 years, and I was an earth science teacher for 10. And in that time, I really honed in on what really mattered. And I found my niche, or found my focus, in inspiring girls to think about science in a new way. I have spent time with working with students of all backgrounds and really helping them connect science to see that in their everyday experiences and see the wonders and possibilities of science. I like to consider my experiences that I provided for students as a gateway. So if you could spend a little bit of time with me inspiring you to think about science, then you either know it's for you or you don't know it's for you. And so I was ensuring that the curriculum that I was using, or that I really created, because I actually like to say that I am an OG STEMinist, because I was doing STEM before it was an acronym, because I was doing science education at UT Dallas before nobody was doing it. And then it became like, well, it's a word. What does that word mean? And so I can say that the evolution, and maybe one day we have that conversation, the bell curve of the definition of the word STEM, it went from 4 little letters to 1 bubble to it's now part of everybody's lexicon. And they're like, well, what does it mean now? Because are we still doing STEM, or are we doing AI, which is a whole different kind of conversation. Dallas native, real proud to be a Texan, and having to have parents that were scientists really helped me gain my footing in what it was to be a scientist. My parents were pharmacists, and so I got to see chemistry from the time I was 9 years old. My dad was a compounding pharmacist making medicine for people, so it helped me see the importance of science in everyday life to inspire my next generation of students that I worked with. So I'm looking forward to the conversation, because a lot of stuff will come out from both of us, and I can't wait to hear it all.
That is amazing. So we have both of you having been in math and sciences from early on. And so you went from, both of you, I think I'm the only person not on a PhD track here. What the hell is that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. We got you with your lit review.
Talk to me about what made you make that decision to go from, first line of education, second line of education, to pursuing a PhD. I think every one of y'all can talk about that except for me. So I'm going to be the moderator on that question to all 3 of you wonderful ladies on path to PhD. What led you there?
I'll take this one, because I used to shy away from this story, but why shy away from it? So I was one of those people that went to school to become a doctor. My dream was to get an MD, like everybody else. You're supposed to you're smart, go get a doctor and go get a medical doctorate. Well, the MCAT and I didn't do well. I took the MCAT 4 times, and I never scored high enough. And so my dream of becoming a medical doctor, dissipated. And that was very difficult, because everybody was going to get become a medical doctor, and I was not. So I ended up going to get a master's degree in chemistry, and that pursued me to go into work. But what I realized is that as a classroom teacher, I really wanted to spend time inspiring kids to use chemistry in a new way. It wasn't just like, okay, turn to page 11 in your textbook. I wanted to do something more. So as I decided to go forward, I knew that the doctorate would help me come up with better ways to articulate the academic importance of teaching lessons and developing curriculum. So my academic track towards my doctorate is really centered on education policy and creating better curricula to teach. So it's like the practice of teaching and the discipline of ensuring that kids can capture what you teach them so that they can learn it. So I actually got an EDD. So while I am Dr. Jennifer, I'm also very proud to say that I'm an EDDer. And that is the true definition of an academic, of having a practice doctorate to teach in everyday experiences. So that is my journey, and I'm very proud of it. Took me a long time, but I will say that when you decide that you want to go and get your PhD or your EDD or your MD, just know it's a lot of work. and there are tons of sacrifices. And you have to know that that's what you want to do, because every day you're going to decide that you don't want to do it. And you're going to give up. And you're going to look in the mirror and say, what in the entire am I doing with this? And you just have to keep going, because it's not a flex. It's the work. And as long as you put in the work, you will be successful. So if that is what your journey is, you have a community. The three of us got you. But just know that it is going to be a lot of effort.
So love the fact that you all have been on this path for PhD, and I am wholly supportive. I've never had that aspiration, and maybe I'm not doing that. I'm just keeping it real. Like, what? Like, I already have lines here. I don't need more. So yeah, but maybe I'll wake up one day and God will just say you need to be a PhD, and I have to go on that path. But right now, I'm good. I'm good. Saki, what's your journey? And you're soon to cross over into this wonderful world, this wonderful community. And I don't want to minimize that, because I think it's very important on education. And so please don't take what I said that I'm poo-pooing it at all. But talk to me about your journey.
Yeah, so I think my motivation to get a PhD really came out of my own classroom learning. And I did a lot of action research as a teacher. And action research is like you're researching yourself, your own practice, how you're moving in the class, or what assessments you're using, how are you taking feedback. And so I was really into that as a teacher, and decided, I have this nonprofit on the side. If I ever really want to make this true jump into being a nonprofit leader in STEM education for girls, I'm going to need some more theory. I'm going to need some more expertise, because, being in the skin we're in, I hate to say it, sometimes people don't take you seriously until you got some extra letters. And you can literally be doing the work and doing research on your own and all those things, but until you have something, I felt like that was kind of one of the other motivators. So unlike Jennifer, I wasn't so much wanting to study what happens as people teach in schools. I'm more concerned with how do people learn, especially how do children learn outside of school. So I'm what we call a learning scientist PhD. I love to study the way people learn, the way children learn in their natural environments. How do people acquire math in their own cultures? What does that look like every day? How do informal educators, people who work with kids in after school programs and camps, what does their professional development look like? Chances are they probably don't get a lot of professional development. A lot of them don't have teaching degrees and backgrounds and like that. So I'm really interested in that framework. It's like 7 million, I believe, 7.7 million of American kids spend time in after school programs. And it's really an area that is understudied when you look at girls in STEM, especially girls of color. There's not really a lot that we know about those communities. So for me, that was kind of fascinating. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to add to the literature on that, so that when people come into our communities, they want to do STEM events and different workshops and whatever it is they come up with. I really want people to have an informed way of doing that. You can't just come in and pop up and do what you did over in Plano, over how you do it in South Dallas. Like, you really have to understand people's cultures, people's communities, and things like that. So I said a lot there, but that's what I do, and that's what I study.
So can you go back to that $7.7 million stat? Can you repeat that stat one more time for us?
I hope I don't get this wrong, because I just put it in the paper. It's 7.7 million children in the United States spend time in out-of-school programs. That could be summer camps, that could be after school, that could be community centers, it could literally be anything. But that's a lot of young people.
Has that changed in your research? Have you found that number is increasing or decreasing, or does it depend upon the community?
I think it depends upon the community, but nationally it kind of holds steady. But in STEM out of school programming, that number is growing. Yeah, that number is growing. Yeah.
Amazing. So Dr. Alicia Mackay, you actually have it in the title. So talk to us about your journey on getting your PhD.
You know what, Fern? And I don't really get asked this question, and so this is a very good question. And I want to say that one thing that we are noticing nationally is that African American women are becoming one of the most educated populations, and you can actually, this panel is a great demonstration of the education that we are investing in ourselves. And so my journey as a PhD started many years ago. And I will tell you, I will echo what Dr. Jennifer said. This is a huge sacrifice because in my journey, I started the entrepreneurship basically owning an IT company as well as getting a PhD at the same time. Would never, ever recommend anybody to do that. And my PhD is in public and nonprofit management from UT Dallas. And so the purpose of me getting a PhD was for basically research purposes. I didn't really think that the IT was going to take off, the organization that we own was going to take off the way that it did. So my aspiration was always to go back and teach college because I taught a career and technology course. Prior to owning the IT company, I knew that I wanted to go to higher level education. So I was basically planning on going into research, teaching higher education. And of course, the opportunity that I have now is I get to work with a lot of nonprofits. But, I wrote a whole dissertation on why Black churches don't accept government funds. Of course, I don't do anything that has, anything in my work that has to do with Black churches. However, that's what my dissertation is in. And like I said, I get to play in nonprofits now. I still have an aspiration to start my own nonprofit. I work with a lot of nonprofits. You and I, Fern, we both sit on boards for nonprofits. And so we get this opportunity to really get this bird's eye view of working very closely with nonprofits. And I always say IT is my head, but nonprofits is my heart. So that was kind of my story, but I didn't do it for the status quo. My mother inspired me to get my PhD. She told me I could go all the way. And I was like, all the way where?
Where we going?
And she dropped the seed. And one of my friends that was a veteran, she told me that UT Dallas was getting ready to start a public and nonprofit management program. And I applied and I got accepted. And it took me 8 years.
It sounds like you had a what you talking about, mama moment. What you talking about, mama? When you said go all the way.
Yeah, she did. She always said that I was a doctor as a PhD. I have a PhD, but she always said that even when I was a very young girl. And so she saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And so I did actually, like I said, it took me a while because we were starting the IT company at the same time. So we were hustling and working, and I was running the school. Luckily, the office was right down the street from UT Dallas. So it was in close proximity. So I would go to class and then I would run back to the office and work.
Wow. So, you all took on so much to achieve this, and I know it's worth it. Saki, you said something that was really interesting. You said that, we as women of color sometimes need to have a couple of credentials behind our name before people take us seriously. Do you feel that having the PhD, you're this close? I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere, girls. It's happening, right?
I receive it.
It's happening. And I asked this too for you, Dr. Jennifer and Alicia. Has it been a door opener?
I think it has been in some cases. I honestly do. Like the conversations I'm in now, the places where I'm asked for my thoughts have changed. And I can attribute that to this journey I've been on and the people that I've met on this journey, the people I'm exposed to. I would say, though, that academic communities, they're very different, though. They're not the most fun group of people to be around, quite often. I'm like, I did all this, and they're really not that,
Right,
You
right.
know what I'm saying? So, but I'm blessed in the fact that I can be in that group, and then I can be in this group, and so on and so forth. But for me, I have seen a difference. But I pray that what I'm bringing to those spaces is all of this other stuff that you would not have heard about had I not been here. That's kind of the way that I try to think about it.
How about for you, Dr. Jennifer? Any open doors because of the PhD?
So it's interesting. I have the opposite of Saki. So for me, because I'm not in academics, the doors that I wanted open were already open. They were already the doors that I was like, oh, I think I needed this. I didn't need the doctorate. It was more of a, I like you, Dr. Alicia talked about your mom. Your mom said you can do it, you can do it. My mom said the same thing, like you can do it. So it's almost like I won't say it was a box check for helping, affirming that my mom said that I can do it. So let me go see if I can do it. But the doors that I wanted open for me aren't academic doors. And so for me, the doctorate was just an added value. And so the conversations, it's like, oh, well, tell us what you have learned. Tell us what you know. But my dissertation was a little specific. And so in the communities where my dissertation topic matters, then those doors are like, well, let's talk to Jennifer because she can tell us about how this works. And so my dissertation was about Black girls who attend elite private schools and their STEM experiences and how their experiences are either shunned away or how they are viewed by the people that are, working with them or teaching them or providing after school experiences for them. And so that's very much a niche conversation, but there is a community of people around the United States where that information is necessary. And so when we think about doctorates opening doors, in anything, it's almost like you have to know what you bring to the table. And your doctorate is just one of the things that's in your bag that you bring to the table. Like Saki mentioned, everything that she is great. Oh, and by the way, she has a PhD. Whereas for some people, that they are Dr. Jane Doe and I am all the things, but their entire conversation falls flat. They cannot tell you that there are 8 million kids out there who are struggling because the journey. And so my whole thing about having the door open is, are you also able to stand in the rooms when the doors are open? Because now that you have that, because the door is open, it's the follow through. It's like that momentum that goes when you are pushing, and y'all are all scientists, so you get it. It's what comes with it. So you're in the room, but everything that comes with you and follows you also is equally important that you also are bringing in the room.
So when you said that, what resonated with me, Jennifer, is, and I would liken it to when you're in, technology and you're working in corporate, where I spent a lot of years, and you finally get a seat, you finally get into the room, right? You finally get into the boardroom or into the key room, and you have a seat at the table, and then you don't use it and you don't leverage it. I think it's so important not only for us to get into the room, but then to also leverage the seat at the table that we have. So I think it's along those same parallels of, let's make sure when you have your PhD, you're leveraging it and you can see the depth of,
Yeah. I will also say, and you mentioned this, I didn't know if you were going in that direction, but I was also going to say, as Black women, what the rule is. When you're in the room, so is everybody else. And you think about what your mom, what all of our mothers taught us growing up. Don't embarrass me when you get there because you representing us. And so I am very clear that when I'm in the room and this has happened, then they're going to say, well, oh, do you know so-and-so? Oh, do you know so-and-so? It's not just like, oh, yeah, I know Fern, or oh, yeah, I know Alicia. Oh, yeah, I know Saki. They're not asking that. They're asking, so how are you aligned with what they're doing? Or this is what my experience is. Or can you tell us what she's doing? Or can you tell us a little bit about the project? So for me, anytime I get into the room, I know that it's not just me. I know that I'm going to sometimes I answer a lot of questions about other Black women in STEM, or what is the collective Black women in STEM, or what is the identity of Black women in STEM. And each of us has a responsibility. So I am very clear that if I can get into the room, I'm also gonna say, oh, well, so my STEM journey and my STEM work is this, but I can't teach this, but Saki can, or I can't do that, but this organization can, or I can't do that. So for me, the doors that I do open, I'm very clear on where my gaps are, but I'm also real clear on who can fill the gaps. And I have a responsibility, as you mentioned, to make sure that these people are aware of who can do this work. So I'm real clear on that, because I know I can't do a whole lot, but some other people can.
And I think that's important because we constantly hear about not having the pipeline. And to me, what you just said is, I'm not going to know it all, right? You're not going to cover all areas in the sciences, but you have the network to know where to go to. And I feel it's the same way. I can't fill all these seats, but for daggone sure, every time I get to the table and you invite me, I'm bringing an empty seat. And if I bring an empty seat, I'm putting a woman in there and supporting women in their journey as well. All right, Alicia. Talk to us.
Yeah, I would say, because see, I got my PhD. I started IT prior to getting the PhD. So say year 10 of us owning the IT company, then all of a sudden I acquired a PhD in the midst of owning the company, which I will say there was a huge sacrifice professionally, because the company wasn't ran as efficiently when I was getting my PhD, because it was such a sacrifice. It was so much hard grinding, and you're trying to do both at the same time. So there in the beginning of getting a PhD, there's a lot of sacrifice, and something is going to suffer if you decide to go on that route. Once I crossed over and I got the PhD, I didn't think anything about it. Matter of fact, I was so upset that I had spent 8 years of getting this degree. And the only reason I had crossed the finish line was because I never wanted to tell my kids I didn't finish. Because the business ended up taking off and it was successful. And I was like, I don't need this. And like, what am I doing now?
Girl, you could always use a PhD. What are you talking about?
And literally, you know what I did? I went and bought, and I have these pictures in my office now. I went and bought a picture of the slaves. It says former slaves of 1861, and where they're standing on the porch, and it's a group of slaves. And then I also have a picture that says Birmingham, Alabama, 1963, where they were getting water hosed. That was my inspiration. I said, my forefathers had to go through so much, and they would have did anything to sit in my seat. So how dare I not walk across this stage and get this PhD? So that kind of kept me going and kept me motivated. And I bought huge pictures. They're still in my office today. But once I got the PhD, then once I heard people start calling me doctor, it brought credibility.
Absolutely.
And it brings access, but it will not keep you there. Excellence in your character will keep you there. So there's things that you have that along with the PhD, that you still need to stand on. You need to stand on integrity. You need to stand on your character. You need to bring excellence to the table. You need to be able to carry yourself like a doctor, because I've seen some people that have it and they don't carry themselves as if they have the education. So yes, it does bring access. It has gotten me into rooms that I were invited into. I wasn't seeking to be in the room, but I was invited into the room, and into rooms that very little representation of African-American women, were in. And so it does give you access. Does it bring you business? So I want to make sure I address that, because I'm an entrepreneur. I would say, do not get a PhD to make money. That is
okay.
It does not bring you money. I will be very clear about that. It may get you a job, but it is not going to give you access to wealth. This country is still a very hard grinding country. Corporate and entrepreneurship is still very much so well respected, and you still have to bring excellence in those areas. You still have to be knowledgeable. You have to carry a level of expertise in that area in which you are practicing in every day. So, and that's why I said it can get you access, but not necessarily wealth. You got to be good at what you do. And so, and I know you and our firm, we talked about some things that you have to bring to the table besides education. Education is not going to, is only going to open a door for you. It may allow people to stop and look a little bit harder at your resume, but at the most part, you still got to be able to bring performance and a level of standard to the table.
So you that was a wonderful layup to excellence and the conversation around how we show up, and our audience that we're speaking to are those early in their career, those who are trying to aspire to higher levels. And we all mentor a lot of either early career students or just either in college or high school, all the way into starting their first, second, third roles. And it's so important on showing up and delivering and understanding the norms of the organization you're working in, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a Fortune 50 company, whether it's a school, whether it's a nonprofit, but showing up and delivering with excellence. And I think it's important that we press on that, because I feel like there's a part of this generation that's coming into the workforce. And I talk to these folks week after week, and they want to, so I guess if this was the do this much, they want to do just enough and keep it pressing. So I'm going to tell you, I had a conversation last week, and I'm very close to her. She's in my network, and I'm really leaning on her. And she said, "Hey, I'm going to go shopping today. We're going to, it's a Friday, and the work day is 8 to 5. And she's telling me they're heading over to go shopping at 1 o'clock. And I'm like, well, how's that possible? We're not in holiday hours. So, aren't you working till 5? She's like, well, my work is done for today. And I'm like, I came from a mindset when I was in corporate, the work was never done. What's your take on this notion of how do we impart the knowledge of perseverance, excellence, going the extra mile? And that's not like an odd thing. That has to be kind of the standard. What's your kind of perspective, Jennifer, on that?
Sorry, I had to find my mute button. I think that that requires a spark. Like, there has to be something that the students or people that you mentor can connect with. Like, I mentor this 14-year-old ninth grader, and she knows everything. She knows everything. You can't tell her nothing. But when she recognizes that she doesn't know everything, she realized that she has to sit and listen. It's a single mom. It's just her and her mom, and her mom tries really hard. So that's why her mom has her out trying to make connections to what her mom ascribes to as successful Black women. Mm-hmm. And for me, it is trying to connect with her what she sees as a spark, because that's the thing, is we have to connect to what they recognize as their definition of success. None of us on this call grew up with AI, grew up with technology. I mean, we had a phone on the wall, and maybe you were the first family to have a push button phone and still want a rotary phone, whatever your technology was. But I can't imagine being 14 and the person who's your mentor is one of 30 million hits of a day that you get access to. Now, we probably knew 30 people, your grandmother, your auntie, Miss Lady down the street, the candy lady, your cousins, but those were people that you could point. The other people that they have access to are not. So it is an intangible connection for them. So what's really important is to create that spark for them so that they can understand their pivot, because ultimately what you want is to create a ripple. So I think it's important to find that spark.
Dr. Jennifer, I have a quick question for you. This is because we're speaking to, a younger generation. That's our target audience. How many hours per day do you work in your profession? Just sum it up, because I want the young people to know how hard it takes to be a scientist.
So when I was a forensic chemist, I was at work every day for 8 hours, and we had a 30-minute lunch. I mean, so you go to work and you do your work and you leave. And that is what work is. Now you get to decide what your 8 hours are. Is that 6 to 3? Is that 7 to 4? Is that 8 to 5? But you're not done at noon to go shopping. I mean, you take it off at 2 to go enjoy maybe an abbreviated day on a Friday, but 8 hours, cut and dry. And if you're an entrepreneur, there is no time. What are you talking about? You work for 8 hours. That's just right now, because then you're going to go home and eat for 3, and then you're going to kick it back. So an entrepreneur has 24 hours, and I think 4 of them are sleeping and eating.
I would say the same for an executive. If you want to get to the executive ranks, when you get to a certain level in the organization, your time is their time.
Yeah.
And so you don't have this 9 to 3 or 8 to 12. It's if you need to be on a call at 10 p.m. to talk to China, and then be on a call at 4 a.m. to talk with India, that's kind of what it is. So I think that as you aspire to amass the different levels in your organization or entrepreneurship, even in the nonprofit world, I know Saki's working events that are all hours of the day, and then you have to then pivot to put on the dress and be ready to represent the GEMS camp for a fundraiser. That's going to be another 6 hours, and then get up the next morning and do it all over again. So, yeah.
Saki, how many hours are you working? Because you have how many jobs, Saki?
Student, gyms, and then I have a GRA job, which comes with being a student, where you work for your advisor and do field work for her. So I got 3 jobs right now. Yeah, I think I probably work maybe 12 to 16 hours a day. And it really depends, when I do that, I'm kind of a night owl, so I get a lot of my work done when it's more quiet, but one of the things I will say that I envy about this generation is that they can do that and not feel guilty of it. Like I would feel so guilty working, just like you said, if this is a standard and I'm just doing I would feel like, oh my gosh, and I they don't feel that way. And kind of in a sense that I think that they are aware of this huge capitalist society that's like go, 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 go. But you all know, you've traveled to other countries. You go to somewhere like Italy or somewhere like that, it's much more chill. Like when I worked in Dubai, we went to work, but you had tea, it was a different vibe. And I remember my first month, it was so hard to adjust because I was like, they're not working. And I felt like I was the only one working. And it's just in America, it's different. So in that sense, I do envy them that they kind of have freed themselves from that hard grind. But at the end of the day, if it's something that you want and you want it really bad, a lot of people want to be on top. They want to be the CEO. They want to but y'all ain't trying to do the work. You don't really want that. You're saying what you want, but I want to have my own nonprofit. I want to have my own business, but you're not trying to do the work. And I think that's one of the things, to what Jennifer's point is, that I struggle with girls at the GEMS camp, just having them intern with me and having them work the summer camps. They get to see that side of me that's no, go back and do it again. That's not what we had discussed. Next time, here's some ways you can do it. But I do believe in modeling. I think that's something that's very important. If we want them to do something a certain way or have a sense of excellence, then our work has to be excellent. We can't just be going around throwing stuff together. But I do envy them in that sense, but I do believe we still have to instill some of that excellence that our forefathers instilled in us.
No, I totally agree. We have to model it because and I'm still hearing this, if you go to HBCUs, and I know you guys have had the opportunity to visit with some, what I hear is we want to see y'all. We want to see y'all who are in the roles, right? So they want to see us as role models. So I think we have to instill that, we just did a poof and get here, right? That didn't happen. But
Right.
hey, I think we can't leave this conversation because the time is just really just going quickly. So everyone's talking about 2 letters.
Yeah.
AI. What are you seeing, with the students embracing AI? Are you seeing it as, oh my God, such an accelerant? Or, wow, so many challenges? Or, hey, wow, I'm seeing our Black and brown students that are really getting challenged with or don't have access. So let's have a conversation around, because you guys are all around students, what is happening in their world and how is AI impacting it both positively And is there a negative side of it?
That's a whole, y'all can do a whole,
That's an episode, right?
that's like a series of episodes. Because there's so much there, Fern, and it's, you're asking the right questions, and I'm in the thick of it. Like my advisor, she studies AI in education, so obviously that's kind of where my research is intersecting as well. For the past 3 summers, we have an AI component in our summer camp. The kids really embrace it. They think it's cool. They like to see what they get out. They like to see that output. What I see, and again, remember, I study informal learning, right? It's not, we don't have standards. We don't have like all these things and bureaucracies and people telling us to do. So there's a lot more freedom and flexibility in the way kids learn in these environments because they don't have that component. So I see them being more risk taking with it, not being afraid of it, not being afraid to dive in and try something different. But what I also see is they realize that there's some issues. You know, they realize that, oh, I did not like that picture. That's not really what I wanted. Why am I only getting a white male when I type this in? So they're starting to look for that. What I see that most young people still struggle with is prompt engineering, like the proper way to, okay, here's your output. What does it mean? Is that what you had in mind? And if it's not, how can you ask it something new to get to where you're going? That right there is the challenge in trying to get them to learn. But AI in education has a lot of good implications, especially when you're talking about your second language learners, your ELL students, the kids with dyslexia, any type of learning disability, accessibility. AI can be a very powerful instrument in that, but it's going to take time for us to get there. But unfortunately, we don't have time, right? And it's moving so fast that we don't really have time. So long story short, we got to get busy. We got a lot of work to do in our community. Usually we the last people to,
Right.
People are training LLMs, the large language models, on false data of us, and we need to get involved in this. And then there's also the huge environmental issue, where it comes into these communities and these huge data centers, and typically they're put in places where poor people live, and poor people in America tend to be people of color. So there's all these things, but I said a lot, but we have to get more involved and be quite proactive, and almost to the point where we're advocating for our own interests in this shift.
So when you say we have to get involved, are you speaking to us as leaders to bring others with us?
Yeah.
Are you speaking to the students? All of the above? When
All
you
of the
say we have to get involved, who's your audience there?
Whoever your community is, my community is women, my community is people of color, my community is young people. So when I say we, I think of all of my stakeholders that I interact with.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
So my AI conversation actually is a little bit limited because of the work that I do now. So I'm in aviation. I work in aviation education. So what Saki's talking about, informal education. So we teach the history and how aviation became a powerhouse in America from the historical perspective. And so where I pivot from that is teaching, we have these planes and how these planes actually use science to fly. And these are vintage planes. These are not modern jets and all of that. And so where our AI is leaning is what Saki just mentioned, is prompting. And so having the appropriate conversation with whatever your question is you're asking so that you can get the best answers. And so what I'm realizing is that students don't have critical thinking or critical thought. They don't know how to ask whatever you need to get out of it. And so I was talking to a kid about 6 months ago, and he was trying to get something done for one of his classes. And he's like, oh, I just put this whole thing in, and I told it to write a better essay from what I wanted and use better language and use stronger words. And I said, so what did it tell you? He's like, oh, I got it and I turned it in. I said, well, what if your teacher asked you to define some of those words? And he said, well, we can just tell her we used AI. So if I get asked, I can just say that's what they gave me. And so that's the challenge, because I'm sitting here remembering my mother and my father and all the other people who were responsible for my education saying, what does the thesaurus say? Do you even know how to use a thesaurus? Y'all remember looking in the book and trying to figure out 15 different words for the same word? And so now the kids get to cheat. And that's what, I love what Saki just mentioned, is that they have access to so much. Do they have responsibility to know what to do with all of that information? And that goes back to what you mentioned, Fern, about having, once we're in the room, we now have to make sure that other people in the room, but you can't bring everybody in the room if they're not ready to be in the room. Right. So yeah, how to you have all of this great essay to turn to your teacher, and you might get an A+, but you can't tell me what it said. You don't understand what it means. So,
but Jennifer, hold on. Do they even think it's cheating?
Okay, carry on.
Like Saki's saying one thing. I mean,
in my experience, they don't. They see it as another resource.
And so that's what Saki just mentioned about, okay, I would feel guilty turning in that paper. And if I had children, they would feel guilty. But,
So Alicia, you've got some kids who are turning in those papers. What kind of standards do you put in place in terms of how do they leverage AI as an aid, or what's going on in the Makaye household on that?
So I have a 17-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I will tell you, my 17-year-old is embracing AI very, very heavily. The institution which he goes to, they are actually pushing back. And I'm also questioning their pushback, because I had to give a presentation on AI at UT Dallas about 3 weeks ago. And what I was learning and all the research that I was actually doing is that institutions will have to adopt AI in some form or fashion. There is a school in Plano that has opened up as a full-time AI school. The tuition is $50,000 a year. And so they are open. They go to school 2 hours a day, and then they do more of project-based learning. They did make national news. And so what I told, the students at UT Dallas, those students are going to be sitting in this chair in the next 10 years. They started with grades kindergarten through 6th grade. And so therefore, this thing is going to take off. It is going to be, I do believe it's going to be a part of the academic setting. The Department of Education did announce very clearly that the Trump administration was for, she called it A1, and that was a blunder. That was a big blunder.
Wait, stop. So it's not saying AI, she said A1?
She said A1. You can Google it. It's a huge blunder.
So I know. I'm not trying to curse, but what the hell? What the hell is it?
It's a man. But she did say that the Trump administration was embracing it, and so. But she made the blunder, and so a lot of people are saying, okay, and this is who's over our Department of Education, and there are people in the chat were saying A1 steak sauce.
Girl, that was hilarious.
A mess.
So, it's coming. And so even my son's school, my son is like, I don't know what they're doing. This is not how college is going to be. And so they're just preventing me from, and I was just like, I said, son, we have to use it responsibly. And we're looking for tools right now to make sure that he can use it responsibly. As a matter of fact, I was helping him last night use the tool responsibly, but I do believe it is going to be a part of every academic institution. You have to adopt it. It's coming. There's nothing that we can do. So all of your minor pushbacks as a large institution, I do believe you're wasting your time.
We are, wasting your time. I mean, I'm still stuck on the A1, but let's. So before we go into our lightning round, I kind of summed up this conversation, which I think we could talk for another hour, to be honest with you. There's just so much richness of dialogue here that we didn't even scratch the surface on the 5 other topics I had on the list here. But so I heard a couple of things, create a spark, when working with your mentees. It's important. Excellence in the work you do, excellence in how you show up and present yourself. Do the work. AI can be a helper, but do the work. Understand what you're doing and what you're delivering. Take risks, learn prompt engineering. What other golden nugget would you drop to close us out? Golden nugget, Saki.
I'm going to say take care of yourself.
Ooh, I love that.
Because I just turned 50 this summer, and I'm just now starting to realize when people were saying that. Like, this STEM thing and being in that, it's a heavy male environment. Now you got tech, y'all were in IT, so that's even more, So take care of yourself, look after yourself. I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say that gets left out of the STEM conversation, because we're always talking about the things, the services, the products, the this, the that. Well, we really don't talk about the people and the human beings involved. And none of this is anything without God's creation. And I just really, now I'm starting to really embrace that and starting to take care of me first and foremost.
Amen, amen. Golden nugget, Dr. Jennifer.
So I would say, in addition to what Saki said, I really like that when you are enough as you are. That's it. And that's one of the things that we as Black women feel that we have to keep going. We have to keep, but just enough. That is a lesson that I have had to learn, that no matter what happens to you, no matter what obstacles are in your way, no matter what people say or throw at you, you are enough. And that is investing. And this is the thing that I've come up with, and this is what I would encourage my next generation, is to stand for investing in your own thriving. That's it. Because once you do that, whatever that is to thrive for you is your journey. And that is what you need. You need enough rest, or you need enough water, you need enough mentors, whatever that is. And I'm being literal. I mean, not literal, but just, global. But invest in your own thriving. Stand for that, and the world will change, because you will change.
Ooh, that's so good. Alicia, you got to have one. Dr. Alicia McKay, come on, give us your golden nugget.
And listen, it is sacrifice. If you want to go into STEM, and if you want to be a practitioner of STEM, it is going to take some level of sacrifice. But sacrifice also requires discipline with what Saki said, taking care of yourself, discipline with, knowing when to draw the line and saying enough is enough. And so all this goes back to loving thyself, the fundamental element of love. That's what we are here to advocate for today. Love thyself enough that you will go to bed. Love thyself enough, what Dr. Jennifer said, that you will drink your water. Love yourself.
All right, so listen, we're going to do a lightning round, and I'm going to put you in this lightning round too, Alicia. So everyone, y'all get ready. It's 4 questions. You ready? Lightning round.
Always supposed to push a button.
Yeah.
Actually, extra. That's my role. I'm going to be extra.
I love it, Fern. I love it.
Okay. All right. Saki, ChatGPT or Claude AI?
Claude.
Oh, really?
Alicia.
Period.
ChatGPT.
Baby.
Jennifer.
Gemini.
What are you, Fern?
You have Claude, my boyfriend. I got
No, but we just got to hear it.
Claude Maverilla. She's non-exclusive, but I love me some Claude. Okay, poetry or fiction? Poetry or a fiction novel? Jennifer.
Fiction all day.
Alicia.
Fiction.
Saki.
Fiction.
What are you, Fern?
Oh, fiction all day.
Okay.
I'm a nice juicy one too. All right, next one: Thai food or Indian cuisine?
Thai.
Neither for me.
Girl, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, neither.
Saki's like, what?
What are you, Saki?
Hey, Thai, but I mean biryani. Like, there's so many good Indian foods. Like, okay, yeah, but Thai.
Some good Indian foods, but I don't go to bed dreaming about it.
Oh,
Okay, all right. So the last one, your ideal vacation. Are you a beach bum or are you a mountain climber? Alicia.
Oh, beach bum.
Jennifer.
Oh, beach all day.
Saki.
beach.
Woo! I find my son, I'm a beach girl all day.
Oh, hey, beach
Oh,
babes. So we call lit in beach.
Yeah, we could be lit on the beach.
We are two plus two. We are four lit chicks.
Four lit chicks.
This was a dope episode with four baddies. We're going to thrive.
I love that.
We're enough. We are ourselves. We've done the sacrifice. We're going to give it back. We're going to pay it forward. Thank you, ladies, for being with us. It's been a wonderful blessing to have you here. And I think we want you back.
We do.
Like my
Let's
This
sister
is fun too. This was so much fun. Thank y'all.
Yes, this is so much fun. This is so much fun.
We
Thank
were
you.
waiting on you to bring it in. We are speaking blessings over you, honey. Come on, Dr. Saki Melton. We are waiting.
Dr. Saki Melton.
Let's get I'm listening to Fern and the Doctors. Fern and the Doctors.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. Listen, like, subscribe at Two Lit Chicks Podcast.
Remember, stay curious, stay bold, and always stay lit.
Woo-woo.